Hi everyone. Hello, hello, hello. How's it going? Okay. Let me see if we have some background to put in. Hi, how's it going? I see some new folks. I haven't interacted with you all, so I'm excited to do that. Let me just adjust the camera a bit. Hello, hello, hello. How's Global Hack Week going for you all? This is my first stream, and I am so excited. I see you're super excited. It should appear now. The check-in was supposed to start at 3:30. I sent the link a minute or two ago. Hello from Morocco. I am from India. Hi. What's the time there right now? Super excited to see you again. I'm excited to see you too. I mean, I can't see you, but obviously I can see your messages. So I am in my chirpiest mode today because first of all it's Global Hack Week Games Week and I'm a game developer. My most favorite thing to do, and also weather today is amazing. It's raining and I just love this weather, so I'm excited about that. It's 11 a.m. It's 3:30 p.m. here. Hello. So I have a question for you folks before I start. Before we go all technical, how many of you know Unity already or have it's about time someone made GTA 6 in Unity. I am not sure if we can build GTA 6 this global like week, but I have planned to do something related to cars and a racetrack, something which will be good for beginners as well. And for people who already have experience in Unity, will have fun doing that. So, something of that sort. Even it's been a while that I built a full fledged game in Unity, so I'm excited about that. Installed Unity Hub this morning. Yay, I'm so excited. Starting with 3D modeling in Unity. 3D modeling takes a lot of time, so we'll be using most of the models from Asset Store itself. Um, and obviously, it's not my major genre. I like more of the coding side and the game design. I try my best to create models, but it's very hard for me to build them. And I don't have that much of patience, to be honest. So, not good with creating models for sure. All right, let me switch on Unity meanwhile I do this. So, how many of you know Unity before, or have you ever tried it or attended one of my Global Ag Week streams before? Because I remember streaming in the AIML week as well, and I gave a basic idea of Unity over there. But don't worry, I'll be doing that again. Uh, Before we start, I forgot to introduce myself. That's a first. Hi, I am Deekshita Verma. I am a coach with Major League Hacking for the APAC region. I am graduating this week. I have like two exams left, and I'll then be graduated from a BTech. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm also a makeup artist. That's a fun fact. I'm not just a technical person. I am a super super creative person, and yeah. Is it beginner friendly? Yes, I'll be teaching you beginner friendly things. It'll be a fun experience to build along with me, and I think most of my games have been when I streamed with other people, so that's gonna be fun. Danny Def from YouTube used to talk a lot about. Yeah, I really enjoy his Unity streams. Thank you. I see a lot of people congratulating me for graduating. Still have 3 more years to go for me. You know what? You won't even know where these 3 years or 4 years go. I mean, it literally blew away for me. college is rough. Congrats on that. Thank you. It wasn't that rough for me because most of my years went online. I have attended your ARVS session, so you have a bit of an idea of how I stream and how I go about things. But for the first time, I did not create slides because I have exams going on, and I couldn't decide what to build during that. So I took like an hour before, and I just prepared what all things we are going to do today. So I couldn't prepare slides for that. We'll just go with the flow. My exams are also beginning, but now sure I will. uh, I think you'll be good. You'll graduate because listen, we've passed all those semesters. I think last one is the easiest to go through. That's what I believe. That's what I've been telling myself, that it's okay to stream between exams and it's okay to work between exams, and that's the only motivation I'm throwing over my head. So meanwhile, I talk to you all. I will also start streaming Unity for you. Let me present my screen. So what I'll do is I'll share the entire second screen, which might be easier. Let me move the other tabs to this screen so that I do not end up displaying them. And then I'll share my screen. So how's Global Hack Week going for you all? How many streams did you attend? What has been your favorite part so far? I would love to know more about this. And I'll present the other screen. So I love my wallpaper. I'm just gonna show that. I am a very very aesthetic person. I try to be. Uh, these are some of my old games. I think we did the media pipe trial or body tracker in one of the global Hack streams. I remember that. So yeah, after that I did not do a lot of work. So what we'll do is we will create a new project and just made an awesome pixel art and previous one. Yeah, I was attending that stream. Like, I did not follow along, but I was listening to it. It was a fun one. So basically, the first thing that we have to do is have Unity Hub. And this is what my Unity Hub looks like because I've worked on a lot of projects. Um, it's not like a hard and fast rule that your Unity Hub should have a lot of projects. It might appear very basic, clean, and that's okay. That will be good for you. We will explore and build games, and sooner or later, your Unity Hub would look like this, or probably even more filled with projects. Which language do you use? So we'll be using C sharp. Now, even if you don't know how C sharp works, since this is a very beginner friendly tutorial, I'll be, we'll be going across everything, and it'll be very easy for you to understand that. If you have like basics of coding, if you understand basic coding, you'll be good to go. You can follow along. Now, just a heads up, I want to know if people are following along, or do you want me to keep going through? You'll take notes because if people don't have Unity Hub downloaded right now, it might be hard for you to you know uh, install it right now during the stream. It takes up a lot of load, and it takes, I think, 2-3 hours to install for devices which have 8 to 16 GB RAM. So, while I do that, let me just share the check-in link once again. I see more folks join in, so I'll just introduce myself again because I like introducing myself. Hi, I'm Deekshita Verma. I am a coach with Major League Hacking, and I am graduating from BTech this week. And I'm also makeup artist. I'm a creative person alongside, and yeah, that's it. I love building games, and I'm an AR/VR and game developer, and I've been so excited about the games week because I get to do what I love. I mean, I still stream Unity every global hack week, or I build something around AR/VR games, but this one is dedicated to what I do, so I really really love it. And I like being aesthetic. I like carrying a zipper alongside, and I forgot that I'm doing that during the stream as well, so I'll keep it aside for now, and we'll build a game today. um, I don't have Unity Hub right now. It's okay. You might want to follow along, see what we build. You can ask questions in between, and try to build it later on. I'll go slow, I'll explain every single detail so that you understand what goes behind game development. Same goes to you, Sanjana. Uh, do you know Mahesh? Yes, I know Mahesh. Uh, I'll try to follow along. That's amazing. So basically, we'll start with a very new project. Like I said in the title of the stream, that we are building a game from scratch in Unity. So I started brainstorming an hour ago and I decided that we'll do something which has to do with roads, cars. And today, what I have in my mind is that we create a scene view, we create what the game is going to look like, probably kind of like a level design. And then we try to make the car move along that path. That will be all for today, and then we'll see what we can do to make it in a gamified format. So we'll start from basic, understand what Unity is, and in the end of the 2 hours we'll be able to build something like this. So I am excited, I hope you are too, and let's see how much we are able to build. Like, I can get very ambitious sometimes, but I hope we're able to build something today. So what I'll do is I'll start a new project, and now I have two Unity editor versions. So it's giving me editor options over here. If I click over here, I can select 2019. I can also go for 2021. Both of them are LTS versions, they are stable, but 2019 is the version from which I started. So my BTech started in 2019, and that's the version I've been using ever since to build games. But when I started working as a freelancer, there were certain apps which required higher versions of Unity, so I had to shift. I'll go with my dear friend, my basic one, 2019 version. We will be building a 3D game. So if you are building in Unity and you're not sure what to build, there are certain micro games that you can use to learn. We want to build something from scratch, it'll be our template, so I'll just go with basic 3D core. You can name your project here, so we will name it cars. Currently we'll do cars. We'll see what we can do with it, or how do we want to change the name. And there's just a location set where my project will be created, and I'll go to the create project button. So now it's building the project for me, and it will open Unity, which might take a couple of minutes. So we will wait for that and we'll chit chat meanwhile, which is my most favorite thing to do. So I see this is the first stream for Kinshu. How's that going? Like, are you enjoying Global Hack Week so far? And how has your experience been? Like, okay, this is your first stream, so you I'm the first one you're listening to. I hope I put a good impression on you so that you enjoy Global Hack Week for that. Okay, it might lag for a couple of seconds. My video might lag for a couple of seconds because Unity is loading right now, and it takes a little bit load on my device. So we hope StreamYard and Unity can work good together. They have done that before. I hope they do that today as well. Anyway, I'll just drop the check-in link once again to make sure that you register and check in over here, so that I know you're a part of the stream. And I think by being at a couple of number of streams, you do get something, or you also get the community points for your college or university. So make sure that you register and check into this particular stream right now. So I'm just sharing the link once again in the chat, and I'm trying to distract you so that Unity loads up. I'm just kidding. I'm what I'm doing, what I know best, chit chat. I wrote register and just wrote the link. What I meant was register here. So basically, what I have thought of is that we have a set of roads, and within that set of roads we have the car moving alongside. So we'll be looking for assets and pre-built models that we'll be using, and then we figure out how to add obstacles, how to destroy lives inside the games, and in general how to basically create the whole idea of the game. Where are you from in India? I'm from Delhi, uh, but I'm moving soon. So I'm excited about that as well. I think most of us are registered. That's amazing. I was just, checking in if people are not, helping you out to earn community points and swags. Can Unity Hub work on 4 GB RAM laptop? I am not sure if it can. It will take up a lot of load, and it might, you know, kind of slow your PC down. Any threads on Discord where I can share my progress? You know what? I will create a thread today so that we can share progress over there, because it's going to be a set of 3 streams and we'll be building. So that would be fun if we share progress and chit chat over there. I'll make sure that I do that today. Uh, is it okay on 8 GB RAM? Yes, it would work on 8 GB RAM. I started with 8 GB, but since I took up freelancing and I started creating commercial projects, that's when I expanded to a 32 GB. Can you share a link of how to download Unity? There are many on YouTube, but I know. Yeah, of course, I'll do that. Just give me 1 second. So basically, whenever you want to use any resource and you're confused about it, go to the main website or their documentation. I believe that's the best resource to find how to download a particular application or things about that. So there is this link, unity.com/download. Yeah, you were just 1 second faster than me. I had just copied the link, but anyway, I'll share it on the chat as well so that people who are joining in on different platforms get the link. Okay. Wait. I by chance opened Twitch and I might have heard an echo, but that is sorted now. So we have a new project created and I'll just move it over here. So here you can see this is cars, this is a sample scene. I don't think I can zoom this in, or let me see if I can zoom my other display. Okay, while I do that, so in a basic Unity scene, what all we get is a sample scene, and within a sample scene, you have a scene view, a game view. There's something called as hierarchy, project, and inspector. Now, my project and your project might look very different in Unity. How did I come up to this particular layout is you go to layout on the top right, and there's something called as 2 by 3. It is the easiest layout to work with in Unity because you get to see everything at the same time, and these are like the main 5 windows that you'll need whenever you build. I'll just, adjust some of the options over here, and I might need a free aspect for now. Yep. This is how a basic project looks like. I'll see if I can zoom in the other display. Let me see if that worked. I don't think it did. So, yeah, I just zoomed in the wrong display. I do not want that. I'll just go back to the recommended one. Yeah. Okay, we'll make do with this one only. So, basically, what these particular layouts are, what these different windows are, and how do we work with them. The first window that we have is the scene view. Now, what scene view means is that uh, when in a Unity project, or when in, like, when you build a game, uh, there's an entire scene, there's an entire environment. So right now the scene is basically my room, and then we have the game view. Game view is that part of the scene that you see through the camera. So we have like a main camera, and the view of this camera is my game view. So what is happening is that when I'm sitting in my room, there's an entire scene around me, but what you see through my laptop's camera, through my web camera, is the game view. So these are the two windows. So we set up the scene, we set up the entire environment, and this is what the user will see. When we go to this part, it has hierarchy. By hierarchy, what I mean is that inside a project, what all things are you going to see? What all things are added in one particular scene? So let's say I have built a scene view, right? So in that particular scene view, there are a lot of things. There might be a road, there might be a ground, there might be elements, stop sign. All of these are going to be listed in the hierarchy, where we have their properties, priorities, and everything in, let's say, one written format with us. Everything that's going to be in one particular Unity scene. Currently, in this scene, we have a main camera. Let me focus on the camera. So, when I click on main camera and when I go to my scene view, if I press F and zoom in, it'll be showing me the camera. Sorry, I just renamed the camera by chance. I'll click on camera, I'll go to my scene view, and I'll press F. So it focused on the camera. I can zoom in even more. This is how much focus that I want. But when I press F, it just zooms in towards the camera. When I go to directional light, and if I press F over here, there's a light added in the scene. So these are the two basic things that you'll see in every Unity scene. And if I add a plane, if I add an object, if I add anything over here, I'll be seeing it in this hierarchy. Then I have another folder called project. So everything that I have in this project, every scene, everything that I'll add so far, you'll get to know what these things are going to be in the project view. Then we have an inspector. What inspector is doing, it's like the inspect element. So we see the properties and we see the things that are set up inside a website, right, when we inspect over it. So similarly, if I click on main camera, I see all cameras properties. If I click on directional light, I see all the properties of a directional light. This is how the basic layout or the basic structure of Unity works. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to create a new scene. This is a sample. I am not going to be using a sample. So, what I'll do is I'll go inside my project. I'll right click over here. There's a create option on the top, and I will go to create scene right over here. So, now I've created a new scene and I'll name it start. Or let's say I'll just name it game right now because this is going to be my main game scene that we'll be building. Now I double click over here. We are in the game scene. What I'm going to do is I'll delete the sample scene because I no longer need it. So deleted my sample scene. I have the game scene with me. How did I delete the sample scene? I just clicked on it, pressed delete button, and it was gone. So currently we have a game scene in the view, in our Unity, and we'll be going to work on it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add roads. That was the thing that I was talking about, right? So I took the liberty of going to the asset store and searching for roads. But just to show you how that is done is, if we need any model for Unity, and we don't want to create it, we'll go to assetstore.unity.com. So I am already logged in inside the asset store, and I will just search for road, because that's what I wanted. So when I do that, I get a lot of options, and I'll see very very beautiful terrains, very very beautiful towns, city views, modular roads, but most of them are going to be paid, and I don't want paid roads to be added to a project which I'm just using for learning. So I will click on free assets over here in the pricing menu, and I see a bunch of options. So there are certain materials. There's one option that I see over here. This is what it looks like. So there's a video. I'll not be playing the video. I'll just go to the next option and see how the roads look like. I think we can work with this one. Let's try to add this to our project and see if this is working with what we have decided or what we want to go with. So what I'll do is I'll add it to my assets. There's a license that you have to accept. Basically, the license generally states that you will not be using it for commercial purposes, and if you do, you have to give credit to the owners, and you can't, charge people for this kind of asset because it's a free one that you're claiming from Unity. So now I will go open in Unity, and when I do that, it's going to open Unity for me, and it will give me this particular menu. We'll wait for it to load. Right now it's loading packages right here. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask me in between. If I by chance go ahead too fast, if you want me to explain anything again, if you want me to repeat something, I'm happy to do that. uh Sign in to access your assets. Let me sign in once. Open Unity Hub. Okay, I think I by chance signed in with the wrong ID, but we'll look for that later. Um, so these are basically all the assets that I've claimed so far whenever I've done that for different projects. What we want to do is we want to search for the project that I just claimed. So I'll go back to this and I'll see what the asset's name is. It's Kajuman's Roads or something. I think we are missing a plane to stand on. We will be adding that. Don't worry about it. So our roads are going to be a plane. Like the entire plane will be built by the roads. That's what I am adding. Please share the GitHub repo link. By this, do you mean the repo link of when I'll create this? Sure, I'll add that to GitHub and share it with you. Okay, we'll wait for this to load. I think there is some problem in logging in. Okay, I'll go back to this option once again and I'll open it in Unity. Open Unity editor and let's see if it works now. Yep, we have the roads option. So this is the roads that we added. Um, I just wanted to confirm, do you want me to create a repo and share the link with it later on? I'll just download this. So package managers are going to have a lot of packages that we need to install in any of the Unity projects. Your LinkedIn also. Sure, I'll do that. I'll share all of these later on. And I will import it inside my project. So when you do that, you get this option. Uh, all of these are being shown on my other screen, so I'm dragging them alongside so that you are able to see them on stream. Um, So when I installed or imported this particular asset, it came along with a lot of textures, a lot of materials, objects, meshes. I don't know what these are, and I don't want to mess up with them, because there might be that you might think "Ki, we don't need this and I'll just deselect this option," and later on it might be the asset that you needed. So we are going to import all of these, and while I do that, I'll share my LinkedIn here in the comments. I am sorry that I am not sharing my slides today. I mostly have all of that written in my slides, but I thought we'll go with the flow. So I'll just share in my socials over here. I shared the wrong link. Let me just delete it. There should have been slash in and then. Okay, I can't delete it. I'll just share the fresh link again. LinkedIn. It's basically Deekshita V on LinkedIn, but yep, that's good to go now. Yeah, this one should work. All right. So we have our asset imported now. Now, when we do that, you will see inside a project folder there is one folder for this asset, and we have certain free objects over here. This is something. Then we'll go back to the free folder. We'll see that there's something called as OBJs. There are a lot of materials over here. When we go back to prefabs, it has a lot of prefabs over here. So I was assuming it might have those scenes pre-built, but here we have some roads, something like road. I'll just try and zoom in on it and see if that can work for us. It can work as a track path for now to begin with. Let me see how does it look like. I mean, it's not that bad, but we could definitely have something better. Like, I have to zoom in a lot and it still does not look like a terrain with roads in between. I was assuming that they'll have a scene built for us, which most of the assets do. Okay, let's see what else do they have in their folders. They have materials and textures over here, and they have a guide for us. So road files have somewhat cumbersome file names. On positive side, these names provide both unique and descriptive identifiers. Road I 10 kilometer distances. The length of the road is 10 kilometer long. Its distance. Okay, so they have some naming convention, and so basically something called as 10 kilometer roads is what I'm assuming they have. I don't see that very well. But what we'll do is, I'll try to bring one of them inside the scenes and see if it looks good. So I will drag and drop this one over here in the game view. Yeah, it actually looks good. It wasn't looking good there. But I think this is a plane or a terrain that we can work with for now. Yep, we have a 20 kilometer track and it's good to go for now. That's what I believe. What I'll do is, I'll rename it as my road. Alright. I will save this scene. Then I'll click on road and press F. So when I do that, I'll just move the road in such a way that it is visible to the camera well, or probably keep the road to where it was and move the camera. So okay, we'll keep the road as it is. We'll just move the camera because I think road asset is too big to change view of, but camera can be. Yes. You see what I mean? Now this is what a user is going to see. So it looks really good. But when I move over here, let me move to the scene view and use this hand tool and move around. This is our scene, so we know that it's going to be a 20-kilometer road up till the end. There are things alongside, but what a user is seeing is this particular view. So that's the difference between the scene view and the game view. I hope that makes sense, and I hope this entire stream makes sense so far. And I think we've got a pretty scene created. I want to add a beautiful sky. So we'll do that first, and then we'll add the car and move it around. So what I'm gonna do is I'll go back to my asset store, and here's the asset store. Yep. Now we'll search for something called as skybox. So what you see in the scenery, what you see around yourself inside a game is called as a skybox. So it's gonna be a box of a view of particular clouds, sunset, whatever you want to add. So again, I'll go to the free assets because I don't want to pay for a learning project. And I think this sky is pretty. There are a lot of skyboxes. You can go with whichever one you want. Be creative, have fun with it. Uh, we can even have a deep space sky, but I think that that'll be too much for a basic car game. We can have a cloudy summer day. I think this one looks cool. There's a quiet morning. How many of you are sunset people over here? Or sunrise people? Just add that in the chat. Let me know you more. Uh, while I figure out which particular sky I want to go with. I like this one. There's this movie called Sky is Pink. This one reminds me of it. Or probably Jaipur, the Pink City. What does Skybox speak? I'm sorry. Basically, skybox is how your skybox is going to look, how your sky is going to look like, how the environment is going to look like. So let's say right now it's a rainy day. So how does my sky, how does the entire environment around that particular scene, around that game view is going to look like? Currently the sample sky is something like this is the skybox where we have a blue sky, where we have this light shining and brown ground. That's the current basic skybox that Unity has. What I want is a creative sky. So I'm looking for skybox, I'm looking for how I want my sky to look like, just as basic as that, how my environment should look like inside the game, apart from the objects and apart from the scene that we're going to add. I hope that makes sense. Sunset people, I see sunset people checking in. Hello, hello, hello. So, I think I'm gonna go with this pink sky. I don't know. I really, really want to try this one. Um, so again, it's a free asset because we searched for free assets. I'll click on this particular view. This is a very pretty sky view, I believe. So I'm gonna add it to my assets. It could even work if you are creating a recreation of, let's say, Jaipur. It's called the Pink City. So something like a pink sky. I'll open it in Unity now. I think you've understood how we run through and add assets. So this asset is loading up right now. World Skies Free Skybox. We'll download it and we'll import it in our scene and give a beautiful sky view. Import. So I think we have the skybox with us now. Let me cross this. And yes, you can see we have another new folder in our folders in our project tab. So that's gonna be my sky. Now, how do I make it a sky? We'll go to Windows. There might be something called lighting over here. Let's see. Yes, lighting settings. Okay, it again went to the other screen. Now we have a skybox material with us. So if I add this material to my sky, this is how the scene looks like. And this is basically the scene view. So that's how the sky is in the entire scene. And that's my ground right here. And this is what the players are seeing. Does this look good for our game's overview idea? I think it does. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select a car. So currently we are just setting up a scene. Something like this is called level designing, where you design the UI, UX, and the idea of what your game is going to look like. So what I'm gonna do is I will search for car now. You can create these assets as well. It is a little too much of an effort for me, and I am not very patient with creating assets. I'm not good with that. So I instead pick free assets and just build the projects to learn something new. Let's see which car we want to try over our beautiful sky and scene. You can pick up any asset, be as creative as you want. If you want to add a racing car, if you want to add a tank, if you want to add a horse or anything that can move alongside a road, or be even more creative, move a ship on the road, whatever you want to do. We will pick this sedan car and let it load. So this sedan is going to be the first car that will move across my track, and I will add it to my assets. Again, accepting the terms, not using it for any commercial project, I promise. And I will open it in Unity. We'll wait for it to load. Now we have to download this and then import it. So while this is happening, how does this whole idea look up to you, and do you feel good building this? Are we going on a good pace? Are you enjoying what you're seeing right now? Let me know, just chit chat in between. And feel free to ask questions if you have at any point. If you think I'm going a little too fast, if you think the scene is pretty, if you think this is going great, just let me know. I see a lot of folks hanging around, and I'm glad that you might be enjoying. I hope you're enjoying building a game in Unity. Thanks for that. I think this is the first time I went with my instinct and I was like, let's go with the pink sky. It is going fine. That's amazing. Loving it. Thank you. Uh, so we'll wait for the car to download and we'll import it in the scene. So you can see a lot of properties, a lot of features if you want something very specific to be added. And there can be a lot of finishing touches and a lot of creativity in this single scene as well. We're just going to build a basic one today, and with the time we see what will go along. What's the most difficult scene that you worked on? So I was doing this freelance project for the Statue of Unity that's in Gujarat, the actual Statue of Unity in India. So I was working with them. It was a government related project, and we had to recreate the entire Statue of Unity and their exact monument in Unity. And we literally built our own trees and by terrain we were creating that entire scene to recreate everything as neatly as possible. I did not have 3D designers with me, so me and two of my teammates were figuring it out, and we somehow ended up making it look as similar as possible. um, that was something I spent a lot of time on, and it was a lot of struggle for me. I don't think it's available online. It was something they had for their inside project, and then I left the startup later on, so it's like their copyright. I can't show that right now. I will try to find a link or anything, if I can, for this particular project. There is some problem in this car, so we will have to restart Unity once again. I'll see if we have like a demo video of it, because I remember I worked in it in 2020. I'm not sure where the project is right now. It's not on my GitHub for sure. So we'll wait for Unity to load again, and it might happen that some of the assets might not work with your particular version of Unity, and it might crash. I have expanded my laptop to 32 GB and it still crashes. It's just something which Unity has, and that's totally okay. It might crash several times. You just have to be patient while building the project. I'll go to the scenes, go to my game scene again, and go to free aspect. Okay, I think I did not save the scene and it crashed. So we'll have to edit that once again. There are some noises from the background. Let me check my mic. I did at the Actually, there was a lot of rain today and a little bit of storm. So my windows clashing again and again. I'll just, change that. Give me 1 second. We will go to the lighting settings and we'll add the skybox once again. And I'll save my scene now. So, first of all, press Ctrl S when you make a change. Otherwise, you're going to lose your progress. Okay, I think it's good to go. Let me see if we have that car. I think that car might not work. So, what we'll do is I'll try to find one of the cars that I used in a previous project. I'll go to package manager. So, whenever I go to Unity and I open anything like open in Unity or go to my assets, what it does is it opens the package manager and you see already a lot of cars and a lot of objects. One of my initial projects was also a car project in Unity. Give me just 1 second. I'll shut my window and door so that there are less noises in the background. Okay, we are back. I hope there are less noises in the background now. How long does it take to master Unity? I think once you get the hang of one or two projects, um, just keep building it for fun. It took me around a year. I've done a lot of projects and I've worked on a lot of things. It's been 4 years that I've been working in Unity now, so I really don't know how long did it take me to master. I still can't say that I'm a master in Unity. I just have fun. Sunset is looking beautiful and love from Delhi. uh, how do you know what to do and when to do? I'm always confused while making projects. For me, I just basically, try to look for ideas. If I'm confused, I might scroll across GitHub and see different projects, or just scroll on LinkedIn and Twitter. Sometimes I try to find projects from there or from other creators. A lot of game developers post on their Twitter and LinkedIn. So I try to find projects, and if I don't get an inspiration from anything whatsoever, I'll probably follow a tutorial and try to add my own twist to it. That just brings me back to pace, and then I try to figure out what I want to do. Uh, or you have a friend called something GPT. Just find ideas from Chat GPT. That's what I've been doing since a couple of days. I try to find creative names, creative ideas, and then just add my personal twist to it. I started in my first year, so this was the first development that I took. I started learning game development and then moved to AR/VR. Roadmap for the projects. How do you know what to do without watching tutorials? So I've been in the space for a long time, but initially what I did was I decided that these are the things I want to work with. Let's say for this particular game, I want a road, I want a car to move along, and I want to clash with different objects. So these are 3 4 different parts. First thing is, how do I find a scene? I'll just search that on YouTube. I'll find how to find a scene, and then I'll implement it in my way. Then I'll see how to move a particular object. Let's see, find a script for moving cars alongside. You'll find scripts, animations, tutorials based on that. Similarly, how do I collide with objects? How do I add that? Try to search it in this format. You'll be able to figure out what you want to do with your project in this particular way. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll install this particular car. I hope this does not crash. We'll download it and then import it later on. Any alternative of Unity? If you want to build games, there could be Unreal Engine. Just give me 1 second. Uh, I think it's not the day for cars today. I'll open the project once again. I think installing any car is crashing my project somehow. Let's see what happens. We'll try it once again. Any alternative of Unity could be Unreal Engine for sure if you want to build games. There are a lot of gaming engines, but what I've seen is Unity and Unreal are the most versatile ones. With Unity, you can build a game for mobile, a game for laptop, a game for web. For iOS, like Android and iOS, are different mobiles, different features. So you have to create 2 different types of apps. For Xbox, for PSPs, basically one engine serves a lot of platforms, and you don't have to make a lot of changes. I can just create 2 3 changes in this particular game using scripts, and it will work on 3 different devices. So that's why I think that these are the most versatile apps, and these are the ones you should work with. I will go back to Unity again and see what to do. I think we don't cars don't want to move today, but we'll find a way to figure them out. Go to the window, package manager once again, and see if I can find another car. So I remember I made this AR project where I had 3 cars and I could change their colors. And they looked so realistic that when I put them in my parking and I made a video of it, my dad and I just took a screenshot and I sent it to my dad. And he said, ये किसकी कार है? So just for people who are not from India or don't understand Hindi, whose car is this? And I was like, this is an AR car. It's not a real model, but it looked that realistic. So I was proud of what I built. It took me a month to understand what it was and build it alongside. So we'll find out if we have any other car model that we can work with. I think we have a search button. Let me search car. Nope. Uh, we have a racing car. We have a sports car, modern sports car. Yeah, I remember downloading all of these for my first project. Sedan was the one which we just downloaded and it did crash. I'll try to install this one and see if it works. I am assuming it might be a problem with the skybox if this does not work. It's working. It's working. Yes. Yay. So I'll just import it, and yep, we have the car imported in our scene. Now, when you install materials from Asset Store, there might be something like your roads are too big for the car or your car is too big for the roads, vice versa. Are these sessions recorded and available after live stream? Yes, they are. You can, I think, you can find them on Twitch, and if you are not able to figure it out, even I'm really new to Twitch. I definitely head to the YouTube channel for MLH and find all the live streams from Global Hack Weeks when I want to go back to them. I did that when I wasn't a coach and I attended Global Hack Weeks. I still do that to find different streams and find ideas sometimes. So there is something called as prefabs in Unity. Now, this is where we go into another explanation zone. So, what basically happens with prefabs is, let's say it's like a global object for me. It's something which is stored in my backend. It's something which is stored over here, and this particular prefab is going to have certain settings. So let's say, like I said, that for my particular car, I want the car size to be in this particular format. So now I made it a prefab. I saved all of its properties. I saved how it's going to look like, and this particular prefab can be used by any scene. So what we are doing is we are creating a global object for every scene to use, and this global object will have all of its settings saved. Now, what do I mean by this global object is I can change it locally in those other different scenes, but overall, um, this the basic properties that I want in every object would work the same. Let's say I want to add one particular obstacle, a stop sign inside my game. Now this stop sign will be added at 20 different points. I don't want to change the settings. I don't want to set it again and again every single time at every spot. It will be very hectic, and I don't want to do this manually. So I've saved the settings for this particular car. I've saved the settings for this particular stop sign, and I can just add it at different points in my screen or in my scene, and it will work similarly. So that is why we use prefabs. I hope that made sense. Um, so right now, in the assets folder, we have a prefab. A particular setting has been made for this particular car prefab. We will be altering it based on our scene. So I'll just drag and drop it inside the hierarchy. And now we'll try to find where this car model is. So how do I find that? I have clicked on car model. I'll go to the scene window and I'll press F. Right. So my car is a little too small for the scene, I believe. First of all, now this is the inspector. This is where the properties of the car are. I will move it zero point 0.5 above. And now if I see it, it's standing perfectly on the road. Right, this is the road level, and this is where the tires are. It You might want to shift it a little downwards if you want. So these are the tiny adjustments that you can do and make sure it works well. Now, for me, if I move this car inside the scene, I'll just, keep it a little forward. I feel like it's a little too small for this scene. We can definitely increase its size a bit. So, I'll again take the x axis and the z axis, move them to 0. We just change the y axis, that is, placed its height, because we are measuring from the center, right? So when we measure from the center at 0, it will clash with the road. We want it to be a little above the road so that it can move easily. That is why I've increased it to 0.48 for now, because For now, I feel like it's working well with the road, and I'll try to increase its scale. So what we'll do is I'll increase the scale by 2 and then move the y to 1 now. Let's see if this looks all right. And move it a little forward. I think the car looks good for the scene. If you want to increase the size, feel free to do that. Keep the y-axis to 1. This is where my car is. If you want to adjust the camera in a particular way, we can do that. We can probably move the camera to here, probably zoom in more on the car. Let's say we've moved it a little forward. If I want to rotate the camera to have like a diagonal view of the player like we do in a lot of games, we can probably rotate it somewhere, just showing how things can work. I'm not going to rotate it for now. So I'll just, undo all my steps, and this is how it looks like for now. So currently I have the car size to be 2 to 2. I have moved it at a certain position. I have the road, and hey, how's it going? I see a fun emoji. I can't understand what the emoji is, but I hope it's a fun one. So this is how my scene looks like. Now, what we want is to move the car around in the scene, and then we'll figure out what to do with the camera view and the other things. But before we do that, I'll take a 5-minute break because I've been speaking since the past 1 hour, and we'll be back now. I'll give you certain time to recollect everything. Ask me questions if you have, and we'll begin with actually adding the coding scripts and moving this car today. Uh, okay, before I go and take a break, I'll just answer one question. What are the specs of your PC and what minimum spec I should have? So when I started working with Unity, I had 8 GB RAM and 1 TB of SSD, and it worked well with me. I had the NVIDIA graphic card. Uh, it works really well. I have a gaming laptop, Dell G3, and it was the basic setting it had. Um while working on Unity and while building a lot of game applications, filters, and since this was my major domain, my laptop started lagging a lot because I was using Blender, Unity, Unreal, and a lot of these kind of apps which take a lot of load. So we expanded to 32 GB RAM. It's still 1 TB of SSD and the same NVIDIA graphic card. Just the RAM has been increased. So it will work if you have 8 GB of RAM. It will be good to go and work with Unity. For if we go lesser than 8 GB, it might lag a bit, but for 8 GB, I think it works for a basic level of projects. So we'll take a 5-minute break, and then I'll be back and continue the stream once again. Okay, I'm back. Let me just remove this background so that it's not that distracting. Okay, so I took my 5 minute break. I have tea with me, and we'll now begin coding. So now we have a basic scene. In our basic scene, we see a beautiful terrain view, we see a beautiful sky, we see a car on the road, and now what we want is that this car should move around the entire platform that we have. So before I do that, I will add certain properties to my car and I'll explain why we are doing so. First thing is going to be a rigid body. So I will trigger some of your physics concepts now. uh, Very basic physics. What rigid body is going to do? It has mass, it has drag, it has all the physics that a normal body will have on it. If we don't add a rigid body, if we don't add these properties to it, it will be hard to apply force to an object and move it. uh, by moving the car, by pressing your arrow keys, what you're going to do is you're going to add force on this particular car. So in order for the car to react to that force, I have made it a rigid body. Does that make sense? And I hope you folks are back from your break too. I see some people who've gone for break, but that's okay. We will continue with creating the script. We'll continue creating the coding aspect of it. So I have added rigid body, and I will save the game once again. Now this stream has reminded me to keep saving whenever I make certain changes. Um, I think apart from it being a rigid body, we need to add certain colliders and certain other properties which might not be needed right now. So I'll just make it a rigid body and I'll try to play the scene and see if it's working well. If there's a problem, then we'll figure out how to work with it. So there's a play button on top, and you see the car fell down. So we have to work on that. I think because it's using gravity and we want it to use gravity, it will drop down for now. But a car is not going to. Let's see what happens if I remove gravity. The car is staying fine. Um, so what we're gonna do is we'll create the script to move the car, and then see if gravity is creating a problem. I have more ideas on how to change this particular part of the car falling down. But for now, what we've done is that we've removed gravity from this rigid body, and let's see if we can work with it. So, in Unity, we create code in C sharp, and for the code to apply on a particular object, like I want this particular car to move. So, whenever I add this car anywhere, uh, it will be moving according to this particular script. So, I am going to add a component. I'll make it player movement, and there's an option to create it as a new script, and I'll create it and add it. So now we have a script called player movement. I'll write the movement code in this one, and this will determine the movement of my car. So I'll double click on player movement. This code will open in Visual Studio. It's not VS Code, it's Microsoft Visual Studio. These are two different things, but you can code in VS Code, that works as well. Uh, I had no idea about VS Code when I started working in Unity. And since my mentor used to code in Visual Studio, I did the same. Let me see if Visual Studio is loading. It has been creating a problem for me since the past 2 days. If it does create a problem again, I will probably move to VS Code. Let's see how that goes. So we are waiting for it to load and open up. If we have any questions in between, meanwhile, I'm happy to take them up. So, yep, Visual Studio is creating problem for me right now. I will try to move it here and see. We have the cars project opened up, but I think it's not updated or there is some issue. The thing is that with this one, I have my site, so I don't have code options to directly add it and autofill. If we move to VS Code, I might not be able to see the errors or autofill it. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem, but I think that's our only option to go with so far. I'll still wait for a minute for it to load or see if I can. I'll save it once again. Try to double click, see if it can open up. And while I do that, I'll go to my settings and see if there's a problem with the setting. So while this opens up, uh, yep, it is creating an issue. So what we'll do is we'll open this project in VS Code and code there. So go to Visual Code. So while I do that, a basic explanation of what a script looks like. These are certain namespaces. For people who don't know what namespaces are, I'll take a minute and explain that. Just give me one moment. I'll open the project. Cars and assets folder. Alright, we have VS Code and we have our C sharp script. Cool. So this is how it looks like. We don't want C sharp recommendations for now. I hope I'll be able to code without the recommendations. But this is how my script looks like. It has a couple of namespaces. Now we use namespaces because let's say I have certain player movement libraries, but there are 4 5 libraries that exist, and 4 5 of them have similar names, name functioning, similar properties. Now every one of them is working in a different format, and if I want to use one particular format of player movement and I don't want the other one, and I don't want the laptop or don't want the code to have a confusion about it, what I'm going to do is I'll use this particular namespace. So all the properties of this kind of player movement are going to stay in this namespace. That makes it easier for me to code, and you directly import that library, you directly import that namespace. It's very similar to importing libraries in Python. So using this particular namespace, I'm using its properties, and by using Unity Engine, I'm going to use a lot of Unity Engine properties. That's what this namespace means. Give me 1 second to have my last sip of tea and then continue. All right. So this is what a basic C sharp script looks like. We have player movement because that's the name we decided. Every Unity script is going to be in a mono behavior class. This is something that you, if I explain it in depth, might be a little confusing to understand for now. But whenever you create any script for a Unity game, it will be inside the mono behavior class. If it is not, then it might be a problem for Unity to compile it later on. Because we are not doing the compiling part, we are not assembling it together. That's Unity's job to do. So it's necessary that it should be a mono behavior class. Uh, Now this is a basic class where the entire code will go. Start is a function which is called immediately when an object is activated. So I'll show what start means. Currently, I have this car. If this car is not in the scene, the code is not activated, nothing is happening. The moment I activate this car, I set it active inside the scene, the first function start is going to be invoked by itself. Something like main. When the code starts, main starts itself, right? You don't have to call main. Similarly, start is activated, start function gets executed the minute a scene starts. The minute that particular object to which that particular code is attached is set active. Let's say the scene starts already, but my car was not activated at that point. That means the start function is not going to be executed. If after 5 seconds of starting the screen, this particular scene, my car gets activated, at this point the start function will get invoked. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions now, uh, because I'm explaining the code, there might be a lot of new concepts. Feel free to stop me and ask me anything in between. I'll go back to my code. Then we have something called as update. Similar to start, like if you create any custom uh, functions, you will have to call them, but there are certain pre-built functions which are going to be invoked by itself. For update is called at every frame. Now I'll explain what frames is. So currently I'm sitting here. Let's assume the fan behind me is not working. So everything is still. I am sitting still right now. This is one frame. The minute I move my hand, so I have probably created hundreds and millions of frames by moving my pen from here to here. So every small change, it might be a very minute change that might not be visible to the human eye, but it is a change. It is a change of property. That is a change of frame. So at every particular frame, the update function will be called. Uh, okay, we have a question. Does DevPost submission count for swag points? Do I have any info on that? I'm not sure about it. I'll confirm and get back to you about that part. So we have how start and update works. These are going to be the hero of our code. So what I'm going to do is I'll first of all create a variable which will be float, and that will be my car's speed. So I'll say move speed for now. I'm writing it in camel cases. So I have one speed called as move speed. I'll make it 12f. By f I mean float. And then there's another speed that I want, which will be the turning speed. So I'll say public float turn speed will be 180f, because here we are talking about the rotation. So I'm saying 180 degrees will be the speed for this one. We'll go in detail of how this will work, but I'm just creating two variables for now. Now, when I start this, I'm going to make sure if my current object is not kinematic. Now, again, a new word, a new physics word. By kinematic, I means no physics is going to apply on it. Even though we have the rigid body, if we say it's a kinematic object, the physics won't apply. So, first of all, I have to make that false, because we are going to work with physics over here. So, now in order to do that, I need a reference to my rigid body, the rigid body that I added on my tank, right? Uh, on my car. I did not add a tank over here. So what I'll do is I'll create a private rigid body. First of all, the type. Okay. Now we have a rigid body. How do I gain access to this rigid body? I need a reference to it. So there's another function called as awake. I'll create a void. Now awake is called even before start. Awake is when the particular scene starts. Start is when the object is activated. So here what I'll do is for my rigid body, I'll get reference to it. What I did with this code is that find a component rigid body to the game object that you're attached to. So uh, let me save this and go back to explain. I kept it private, and when I went over here, when I say that get a component rigid body, it will search for a rigid body right from here only, from this particular car model, because I did not give it a reference to where do you have to find it. So the first search will be here, and we have a rigid body attached to it already, so it will get a reference to this one. Now what you see here is that when I created these public objects, uh, the float and float for move speed and turn speed, you can see them here, right? But the rigid body that we created was private, so we can't see here in the inspector, because we don't want everyone to change it. Only the coder, only the game developer can change it. The designer, or let's say other people who are working on the UI UX, cannot change that. So that's why we created it a private element, and we don't want other classes to get access to it. That is why we changed that, but that is why we kept it private. It's again, if you are someone who's worked in C++, it's very similar to the private and public, that if you have private elements, no other class, no inspectors, nothing can see those private elements, but the public elements are accessible to anyone who has an access to the object of the class. I hope that makes sense, and I hope I did not go too technical. uh, what I'm going to do now is that I'll go to rigid body, and within the rigid body, I want to gain access to the kinematic. So I'll check for if there is a is kinematic element, and I'll set it to false. So this should work. That for this particular rigid body, go to the is kinematic element and set it to false, so that we can move this. And for right now, we'll also create other variables. So we will have input values, and currently we don't have any input from them. So what I'm going to do is I'll keep them as float as well, but these are going to be private ones because we don't want anyone else to have access to it. So I'll create a private float for movement input, and I'll also have a private float for turn input. So at start, what I'll do is that I want to set it in a way that we don't have any movement or turn whatsoever. So I'm going to save them as 0f. I hope that makes sense. We don't like want an old value or any dummy value to start moving these objects. We want them to set as 0 initially, and we will be taking the input. So that's going to work later on. I hope it made sense so far. I hope you were able to understand it. Let me know if at any point it becomes too much. I'll try to make it easier for you to understand. So at start, we've done this. Like we have our rigid body set as false, our initial values are false. Um, this is the basic setup. Now what we want is we want to take input and we want to move accordingly. So that will happen in update because we will be taking update at every frame, right? So for this one, what I'll do is that my input value for movement will be equal to input. Now I'll explain what I'm doing right now. My um horizontal axis will move the object, or my vertical one. So I'll guess which one would work. If it does not, we'll probably change it. So what I'm doing right now is that for my arrow keys, the upward arrow keys, there is one axis, then for the right and left arrow keys there's other axis. So I am giving it the axis that this particular axis is going to move the object forward and back, and this particular axis is going to move it other side. So for forward and back, I think the vertical axis will work and the horizontal one for the movement. So I'll say that take the input from this vertical axis, that is your value for movement, and for turn input value we will take the input from horizontal axis. Does that make sense? So currently we are taking the input value. Now all we have to do is take this input value, multiply it with force, multiply it with our speed, and hope that it starts moving. So what I'll do is I'll create two functions, move and turn, or I can do that in the update itself. So let's do it in the update itself, and then I'll show how we can do that for the uh, in different functions as well later on. So I will create a vector for movement. Vector 3 is nothing but an element which has x, y, and z axis, right? By x, y, and z, what I mean is that in a 3D game, you're not just moving forward and backward. That is vector 2. Vector 3 is anything which has three axes, and you have different values for all of them. So I will multiply the speed with the movement value and give it to also multiply it with the transform. So first what I'll do is transform dot forward. So currently the forward force that we have, the current movement that we have in the forward direction for this particular element multiplied by my move speed, right? Current direction multiplied by speed, the value that I want multiplied by time. The current time, the current change, like 1 second of time, can be calculated by time dot delta time. So this is my movement. Now I want this movement to be applied. So what I'll do is I will click on my rigid body and I'll move its position, dot move position, to my current position of the rigid body. I think it should be in small, and plus the movement that I just calculated. So what it's going to do is it is going to apply a force that move the current, that what we want is that you have to move this position from the current one to the movement that we are applying. Let's see if this is working and then we'll figure out if the turn works, right? uh, Go back to the scene. I hope I've saved the code. Yes, I've saved it. I think things look good so far. Let's see if this is working. There are some compile errors though. I don't see them in the console window. Okay, let me see what the errors were. There's one error. Time does not contain a definition of delta time. Did I write the wrong spelling or the wrong case? I think it should be delta time. I think it will work now. Let's see if it works. I hope you're able to understand this. If you have any questions, feel free to keep asking them. It might be a little trivial for people who are looking at this code for the first time. It's very basic. Once you get the hang of it, you're just applying basic features. If I move forward, it's not working. Input axis vertical is not set up. Okay. So if things are not working, you might find these errors over here. Yes, the axis is not set up so far. So we will exit from the play window. So we had to add the axis settings. So I'll go to input, edit. I think it should be in the project settings. Yep. Do we have an input manager? Yes, we do. In the axis folder, horizontal axis, vertical axis. Vertical axis is down, up. I think it's working. We have the vertical axis name. We have how it should work. Key or mouse button. It is the x-axis. Oh, I wrote the wrong spelling for vertical. Okay. And I thought the axis was set up. I've never faced this issue. Let me go back and clear this up. So this was a runtime error. The initial error that we had was a syntax error. Now in runtime also there was a syntax, actually semantic error. There was something wrong in the spelling, but that you get on the runtime. So we'll play it again and see if it works now. Yes, our car is moving properly, and if I move it back, it's working. We do have to adjust the tires currently, but I think it's going good so far, and it's not moving exactly on the road. So that's something that we'll probably do in the next stream. Currently, we'll just work on the turn and the forward and backward because even we have time till 5:30. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my script and now add turn settings to it. So for turn, we'll again, like we created a movement. For turn, we want a float value. because it's going to be like 180 degrees, 360 degrees, 24 degrees, anything of that sort. So float, turn, and what I'll do it is I'll first take my turn value, right? Multiply it with my turn speed and multiply it with time because I don't need an axis. I'm just giving it an option on what particular angle are we turning from here. So currently we've created a float value of where I want it to move. Now we'll go to quaternion. So similar to vectors, for rotation we have something called as quaternion. It is 360-degree angle. Again, it also has three values, but these are going to be rotation values. So it will be in angles. Now what I'll do is I'll create a turn rotation element and I'll set it as quaternion dot. If you remember physics, there was something called as Euler angles. So it's just setting the angles for it. Um, I don't want it to move in the x or the z direction. What I want it to move is in the y direction because I'm moving the rotation of the car. So for movement of the rotation, we are going somewhere in the y axis itself. So the turn value that I calculated is an angle to be moved in the y axis, and then OF again. So it does use a little bit of physics, but this is I think the basic moment physics that you need to understand. Rest of it works easily. So I'll go to the rigid body, and now I'll move its rotation. So we had move position, now we are moving rotation, and what I'll do is that again, like we had current position plus movement, we'll have current rotation plus our turn rotation. So this should work. And now our car should rotate as well, right? Let's see if it does work. I hope I did not create any spelling errors. Quaternion cannot be applied to operands. Just a second. Type. Did I have to multiply that? Yeah, I have to multiply the rotation. You can't add them. So the current rotation that I have, I'll multiply the turn rotation in it. Okay. I'll clear that again and I'll explain what happened. So when you are rotating an element, you can't add them. You can't add the rotation that take this angle and then add this other angle to it. You're rotating them. So you're multiplying the rotation part. And then I'll play it again. So we have a car that rotates and moves on the road. Okay, so again, now we have certain inconsistencies to keep in mind, which we'll be looking forward in the next one. So the car is moving from the grass. If I move forward, you see that the terrain is moving upward and we did not apply gravity. The car is at one particular level. So the car will disappear from the road after some time. So that's another change that we need to have. And I think the model tires should be fixed a bit, right? Currently, they are at different sides. Now, this is something where my perfectionist side comes. I have to add a lot of changes in this one for it to be a complete project. The quality of the car is not the best, but that was the only car which was working right now. But we have something which works. Now, at this point, do I want the car to rotate with, do I want the camera to rotate with the car? Do I want the camera to just move along with the car? Is a question. What I want is I don't want the camera to keep rotating in the scene. Like I want to see the terrain, I want to see this particular view. Um, but I definitely want the camera to move along with the car. So what I'm gonna do is I'll stop playing. I will go to camera and I will add a component. I'll create a new script and I'll name it camera movement. This is the last thing that we'll be doing today, and then we'll be continuing this project tomorrow in the second part of the stream. So we've created camera movement. I'll go to VS Code, find the script. First of all, save this. It's going to be very basic. What I want is my camera to keep moving alongside. So we'll take float or probably vector. Not sure which should be it. So I'll take a reference to my current position. It could be transform as well. Okay, we have a transform. Now, what transform is, within a car, within any element, you see the transform which has position, rotation, and scale of that particular element. It could be for the camera, it could be for the directional light, it could be for the road, it could be for the car. So I have a transform for my car, and I am keeping a private element for my current position. Now, what I'm going to do is at the start, I want a difference between the car position and my current position. Now, obviously, the car is ahead of me. The car will have a position higher. So, what I'm going to do is difference equals car position dot position minus my transform dot position. Let's hope that works. And at update, what I'm going to do is transform dot position equals whatever the car's current position is plus the difference. Let's see if that works. If it does, I'll explain what that did. If it doesn't, we'll make more changes and then I'll explain it. So, cannot convert the type vector 3 to unity engine dot transform. Okay, yeah, this should have been vector 3. That's where my difference will be. Um, Operator cannot be applied towards operand of type transform and vector 3. So what we are going to do is, for the current position, let's see what element changes when I move my car. So I'll click on my car model. I'll click on the arrows. When I move the car forward, you see that the Z element is changing, right? That's the only element that we need to change. I don't want the other elements to change, right? So what I'll do is, I'll go back to my script. Now it's going to be a float of difference. Car position dot z transform dot position dot z. So my current transform dot position will be a new vector 3 which has dot x transform dot position dot y comma my car position dot z plus my difference. Let's see if that works. Okay, we don't have any errors now. So what we did over here is I am taking a difference between the Z position of my car and my camera. The transform dot position is for the one it is attached to, so it's the camera. Uh, I've taken the difference between them, and what I do is that the position is again a vector. So this vector will have the initial positions that we had, and for the Z one, we are creating a new one. Instead, I could have made it easier by writing float x equals transform dot position dot x, which makes it more readable. Float y equals transform dot position dot y, and float z will be current difference, right? And I'll y and z. Now I've changed the transform position. So I will go to my Unity screen and I'll try to play that again. I just hope it works. We will play the scene and let's see. The variable car position has not been assigned. Nice. I did not assign the position. So we'll go to the camera. Now it is asking for what value because I have not set the value inside my code. So I'll simply drag my car model over here. Now we have the transform of the car model with us, and we'll play the scene once again. So currently we are moving with the car, but the difference did not apply the way we wanted it to, right? What we've done is, okay, so if I want the car position, its difference, I will have to subtract the two. Basic maths, basic physics, that's something that we need in game development, and I sometimes tend to forget that. uh, I'll play it once again and see if it works now. So we'll wait for it to load and start the scene. Okay, it's playing. Okay, I did not click on maximize. So even if the car is moving at different, as I said, it will sink in. But even if it's moving at different, it's rotating somewhere. We don't want anything to do with rotation, but we definitely want to do something with the movement. So we have a car moving on the road, and our camera is moving alongside. That's it for day one's work that we had. Um, and the other part where the car is sinking in, we'll figure it out in the next stream, which is tomorrow. So I'll see you in the next stream. I'm open to have us answering some questions, and I hope you're having fun so far at Global Hack Week. Make sure that you've checked in on the link that I shared in the stream. If you want, I can share that again with you, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll be waiting for some questions while I play with the game. uh, and I'll be hanging around for 5 more minutes if we have anything. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining in. And I hope you had fun and I hope it was easy to understand. And we will be doing a lot of fun things with this particular game. Also, I will create a thread where you can add your progress in case you're following along. That was a great suggestion by someone. So I'll do that at the Discord channel. Make sure that you join the Discord for Global Hack Week, for MLH, and tune in to the Global Hack Week channels so that you can find out more on what the streams are and how it's going. Not gonna lie, it's a great idea to introduce us to Unity. I absolutely love Unity. I really, really, really enjoy it. And I try to include Unity in every Global Hack Week. But since this was a Games Week, it was something really, really deep down to my core. So I was like, I have to do it. All right. So I'll just, remove my screen. What I'll do is that I'll add this project to GitHub as well. And I'll share the link on the Discord channel so that you can have access to this project and build alongside. Thank you for joining in. I hope you had a great time. And I'll be sharing the resources and we'll be continuing this game tomorrow. So make sure that you tune in next part of the I think I'm lagging a bit. uh, it's great that the lag has started after the stream has ended. So that's great. Thanks. Thank you so much for joining. Happy hacking, everyone. Bye.